Hi, my name is Richard Rottelhuber. I'm going to share with you how I clean up trees today. I'm on some family land in Clarendon, South Carolina, down on a creek bottom, and what is behind me is a beech tree and looks like an oak tree that came down either during Helene or after Helene, and it's been sitting here for a couple of years now. And it's blocking access to a space that we normally try to bush hog. So I'm on my Kubota L3901 tractor. I've got a grapple on the front of it that I use to move brush and logs. And I'm running two chainsaws today, a Stihl MS 261 and 462C. I am an OSHA certified sawyer. I'm signed up to get my U.S. Forestry Service certification at the end of this month. This is St. Patrick's Day in March 2026. And I've been cutting trees now for about 20 years, almost exclusively on family land, both here in Greenwood and in Lawrence County. So one of the first things I do when I walk up on a tree like this is kind of assess the situation. And what we're looking at is the tree was originally planted along the creek. Looks like the wind blew it down. It's uprooted. The root ball is still in the ground. So that means it's stable at that end. And then here's the top of the tree. Normally what I'll do with a tree like this is start at the top, take some of these limbs off the top to get the weight off of it. They'll drop straight down to the ground, and then I'll move those out of the way to clear access to the main body of the tree, and then I'll start working that down. I try to cut the logs while they're still up in the air, just so that I keep my chain out of the dirt. You don't want to get your chainsaw chain in the dirt because it will instantly dull it. So that's what we got today. I'm just going to set you here on my tractor, and we're going to start this saw cold and start working the tree up. Last week I was down here recovering some walnut trees that have also come down, and I found two beaver dams in this creek. The beavers have moved in recently and are damming the creek up, and so I removed both of those dams, and while I was working on one dam, a nice copperhead came out to greet me, and it sat there and just pretty much watched me the whole time. It didn't move a whole lot. I didn't bother it, and I left it there. I didn't try to kill it or anything like that. So there are snakes down here. Copperheads are common. We see a lot of them. Copperheads are poisonous. You don't want to get bitten, but they're afraid of humans. So normally when you're working, running saws and tractors, they'll hear you and then they'll move out of the way. It is unusually cold today. We had a cold snap. Temperature coming down here was in the mid to upper 30s. And so I'm thinking any kind of snakes or creatures like that are kind of sluggish. And I'm not expecting to run into any of them, but I'll always keep an eye out. All right, hopefully I got all that recorded from the camera angle. I'm not sure what you're able to see, but that didn't take long, maybe 10 minutes. I cut it in lengths that I can move with this tractor. I'm not bucking any of this up for firewood. I didn't measure anything to put on the sawmill. I really don't care too much for red oak unless it's unusually straight grain. The birch tree is not worth keeping, so I'm just going to move all that stuff out of the way with a tractor now. During the cut, what I was doing was I was looking for tension in the logs and trying to work on the compression and then the tension side of it. So there's techniques you can use to cut through that stuff. You generally want to start on the compression side of it and then work your way down and cut through the tension. That way you don't get your bar pinched. I did get my bar pinched once, but I was able to free it up with a wedge and my axe. That happens. It's a normal part of doing work like this. You want to minimize it, obviously, because it slows you down, but it does happen. So anyway, I'm going to stop recording now and move the camera and set you up so you can watch me move this away with the tractor. cut those two trees, I don't know if you could see it, but they stood up because the root ball was still attached. And that happens sometimes. It's kind of exciting when it does happen because the tree will stand right back up. But anyway, I'm going to cut the bottoms off of them now and see if that'll make that root ball fall back into its original spot in that creek. All right, there is now another oak tree behind us here. I'll turn around and cut that one up. So this is my Stihl MS462C. This is a professional grade saw, very powerful, got a 24 to 5-inch bar on it right now, and with a skip tooth chain. So this cuts very fast, it's very powerful, and the long bar is something you have to be aware of because you can get your feet or your legs if you're not careful. So you got to know where you are in relation to that bar at all times. This 261, which I absolutely love, is light, it's very powerful, it's a pro grade saw, but it has a shorter bar on it. So I know kind of where I am with that bar at all times, and it's a little bit safer to operate. Folks on the West Coast have different opinions about that. It's not the length of the bar, it's what you do with the head. All right, let's crank this up. Hadn't been running a while. That's a 462C. No real issues with that. Had to make a relief cut or two. Let's move it out of the way now. Now we're gonna go look at these beavers and see what's going on. I down here last week and I broke up a little beaver dam. Alright, that one is still flowing and this creek is about normal, so I would say the beavers are discouraged. They are some busy little critters, I tell you what. Might keep this creek flowing. If you ever have a good spring gully washing rain, it'll come in here and clear all this out. But until that happens, we have to deal with beavers. So the Copperhead was downstream a good little ways. We're not going to go back down there. All right, that's all for now.